Hey guys, and welcome back to your One Room Schoolhouse. If you are new here, my name is Mary Barfield and I'm a homeschooling mama to a first grader and a third grader. And in today's video, I thought I would share with you guys how we go about doing the riches in our homeschool. So what that means is we are Charlotte Mason homeschooling family. We are not purists by any means, but we do follow a lot of things Charlotte Mason. And part of that is doing artist study, composer study, and we incorporate folk songs into our homeschool. Now, I've gotten asked previously about how we do this, and so I thought it would be a great opportunity to create a video about this and share with you how we go about it. Now, I want to preface this video with the fact that we keep it pretty simple with how we do these, and that's exactly how Charlotte Mason wanted it to be. We were supposed to let the art and the music and everything speak for itself and get out of the way and let our children enjoy it. So this isn't going to be anything groundbreaking. This isn't going to be rocket science, I promise. It's just going to be kind of an overview of what we do, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas that you can incorporate into your homeschool. So I get everything for our artists, our composer study, and our folk songs from Ambleside Online. If you are not familiar with Ambleside Online, it is a free Charlotte Mason curriculum that is online. It is not done online, but the curriculum itself is online and you can pull it off of online and then implement it into your school. So I get everything from that website. And what I do with it is I actually create my own little riches section in my working binder. This is something new I implemented this year. It has all my instructor guides for math, language arts, history, everything in here. And so let me flip to the riches section of my binder to show you what it all looks like. Okay, so I've got it all flipped around so you can see. So I created this myself. So I always do this because it kind of makes it a very open and go way of approaching artist and composer study. So I have the riches, I have artist study, composer, and folk songs in here. And what I do is I create a section for each term. Right now we're on term 2, so that's what I'm going to share with you, of course, for this. So here is term 2. I go ahead and I put who the artist is. We're studying Jean Fragonard, I think is how you say his name. The composer is Mozart, of course. And then the 3 folk songs we will be studying during this term. So we do 1 folk song per month. And it is Rose to Tralee, Battle of Otterburn, and Wade in the Water. And then what I do is for each of those, I create little notes. So one thing I like to do is I like to find a portrait of both the the artist as well as the composer. You'll see here I have one for Wolfgang. And then on the back of the portrait page, what I do is I find a kid-friendly biography about the artist or the composer, and I put it in here, I copy and paste, and then I write down which paintings we will be studying that term. Now, true to Charlotte Mason, we only do 6 paintings per term. This isn't 6, but 6. We study 6 paintings per term, and we study 6 pieces from the composer as well. So here, I'll show you what that looks like on the back of his page. So here, I've got a kid-friendly biography, and then I have his music selections here. Now for Mozart, Ambleside Online only selected 5, and it's because they wanted us to go over Symphony number 41 in C major for 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. I'm really bad with my fingers, y'all. I know how to count. And then what I do for the folk songs, again, we are studying 1 folk song per month, is I go ahead and I find the lyrics and I put them in here, see, for each of the folk songs. And then I've got term 3 behind here too. So I create this to just make it as easy as possible for me during the school year. I do this during the summer and it's prepped and ready to go, and all I have to do is pull it out and I know what we're studying for that week. Okay, something else that I do in preparation of the school year before we even get into how we actually do the study, right before the school year, what I will do is I will search on Spotify for Ambleside Online Composer 2025 to 2026. As well as I will search Ambleside Online 2025 to 2026 folk songs. There's a wonderful person out there every year so far, for the last 2 years at least, who has put together and compiled a playlist based on what Ambleside Online recommends for that year's rotation, and they combine it all together, and all you have to do is add the playlist to your history, and it's right there at the top ready to play. So here is what it looks like sorry for the glare, for the composer, they've put all the different songs, and they always add in, whoever it is that does this, I don't know who it is, but thank you so much. If you are watching this, thank you. She goes ahead and she puts all the songs that are listed by the Ambleside Online rotation, but she also adds in quite a lot more of the artist's work. So we can listen to them throughout the entire term. We don't have to just listen to those 5 or 6 songs that Ambleside Online says to. We can listen to a lot more from the artist. But I really appreciate that they have this all in one spot, and it's so easy and so convenient to click on. Same thing for the folk songs. Here's another one. Oops, sorry for the glare. So here we have all of the different folk songs. Again, we're studying 1 per month. And whoever does this, again, is an amazing person, and I love you. Thank you so much. Because it makes my life a lot easier, let's just say that. So I've got those ready. I've added them to my library. I've made my Riches Guide, so we've got that ready to go. So what is the actual studying of these people and their art look like, right? So let's start with artist study first. I think that's a good one. So let's say it is the first week of the term. What I will do is I will go ahead and actually print off the paintings myself. You can go ahead and order these. They're on the Ambleside Online website for free. You get a little thing that says you are able to print this. This is like copyright is non-existent on it. You can go ahead and print it, whatever. Send it to different printers. There's so many different ones you can use. I did that last year when we started artist study, but this year I went ahead and decided to print them myself because I have an Incotank printer now. Last time I didn't have that, and it prints really beautifully. And I honestly just did this on cardstock. If you wanted to take a step further, you could purchase specific paper that is meant for printing pictures. Like you can get a nice glossier look to it. It's a little bit more sturdy. I just used what I had. I was trying to be economical and think about our budget by just using the cardstock. And frankly, it's worked perfectly. It came out great. The girls are able to study in detail everything about it. At the bottom, it has the name of the painting and it has the artist and when it was painted, all that. So thank you so much, Ambleside Online, for offering these to the public. But so what I would do, let's say it's the first week and I will say, okay, we're starting a new artist study this year, this term. I'm going to first turn around this and I'm going to have you guys gaze upon it. I want you to study the picture. And then when you're done, I will turn it away. I'm going to ask you to give me kind of a narration of what you see. So what I will do, I won't even tell them who we're studying yet. I will go ahead and I will put a sticky on the bottom because I don't want them to, because now that my kids can read, I don't want them to read who it's by or what the title is because I don't want it to give anything away for the painting. But I will just sit here and I will hold it and they will stare and I will see them, their little eyes moving all over the painting and they're just taking it in. And then they both will at one point go, okay, I'm good. And then I wait for the next kiddo and okay, I'm good. So when both my girls say they're good, I turn around and I always start with my youngest daughter just because she's still trying to really get her feet under her about narrations. So I have her start first because normally it's not as robust as my oldest daughter's narrations yet. And she will tell me one thing she remembers about the painting, right? So she'll tell me something, I remember I saw a girl sitting at the piano and there was a boy leaning over her. And then my other daughter will then give me something. I remember seeing, a little animal sitting on the chair next to a guitar while this girl was playing the piano. And so and then they kind of add on to each other's narrations until I can't get anything else from them. I'll ask them, do you remember any colors? Do you remember any specific shapes you saw? If they're running out of information, I try and dig and get more out of them. And then when they are all tapped out, I will turn it around and I will say, you guys did a really good job. This painting is called The Music Lesson. So I think my oldest daughter was like, I think that guy's her teacher. And I was like, you're right, because he's teaching her a music lesson. That's why I like to cover the title because I don't want it to give away what's happening. And then I will say, this painting was done by Jean Fragonard in 1765. And then I will say we're going to be learning about Jean Fragonard for the rest of this term, and we will learn even a little bit more about him, not just his paintings. And then when I am done with this, I will then go ahead, and that takes maybe 5 minutes. That's it for the week. We're done. And then I will go ahead and I will hang this up with painter's tape on the wall next to our dining room table, which is where we eat, which is where we do our homeschool, which is where we walk past to go outside. I mean, it's a wall that is constantly in our purview. And letting them gaze upon these paintings, I'm adding one every 2 weeks to the wall, so we're collecting different paintings, and they get to enjoy them for the whole entire 12-week term that we do. Now, by doing this, they are constantly exposed to this person's artistry, so much so that they will eventually start to really recognize their style. And I've had it where the girls, we studied Monet last year. We were at the thrift store and we saw a painting, one that we hadn't studied by Monet, but my oldest daughter goes, "Mommy, that looks like a Monet painting." And we went over to it and I was like, "Babe, that's a Monet painting, good job." Because we had taken 12 weeks to sit with this artist and learn about their skills and how they operate, the different types of artwork they had done. It's such a great way for your students to be exposed to different artistry. So that's what we do for the first week. Then the second week, we're still technically studying this painting. I will have them recreate either the painting as it is, like do their own interpretation of it, like they can really start to paint and try and create it. Or what Charlotte Mason recommends is have them draw the lines. What are the actual main lines that you see in it? It just helps them hone their observation skills and become attuned to the different shapes and lines and everything that you see. It's kind of an early introduction to learning about perspective and vantage point and grid lines and things like that when it comes to art. And that's what we do the second week. The third week, we will introduce a new painting, right? And then it'll be the second painting by this artist. And then the fourth week, we will either recreate or draw the lines, and then so on and so forth, alternating. But as we are doing it, more and more paintings are going on our dining room wall for them to look at every day, So again, put it somewhere where your kids can see it at any given time. Another thing I like to do, as I showed you guys in my Riches book, on the back of it, I do have a biography. This is more for me to read. I don't read this to my children. This is just for me to read, but sometimes I have read like little snippets from it to the kids. That's why I make sure it's a kid-friendly one. But ultimately what I prefer to do is, if I can, find a living picture book or a child-friendly book on the artist, and then I will read them. If Mozart's got tons of them, so we've read like 2 or 3 this term. That's who we're studying right now. So I will read those to them periodically at random times. It's not during their art study period. It's maybe in the morning or on a Friday when we do Fun Friday, when we have a lesser schedule. So I like to bring in a living narrative. There's really good ones for Monet as well. So that's another added touch. That's not a Charlotte Mason thing. Like, she didn't recommend doing that, but, or at least as far as I know, she didn't, but, that's something I brought in. I think that helps helps my girls connect better with the artist, their life, and the paintings that they have produced so far. All right, next, let's talk about how we do music composer studies. So again, if it's the first week of the term, my students have no idea who the new composer is that we're studying for the next 12 weeks. I will start off our lesson during morning time, like our morning enrichment time. I will say, okay, we're starting a new composer study, and I will play from my Spotify list the first song that we are meant to be studying from this composer. And I will just let them listen. I'm like, I just want you to listen. And normally what they end up doing is they start dancing to it. My kids love dancing to all the songs that we listen to. And if it's like a very fast-paced one and it's got a lot of fun, they're like doing a lot of movements. If it's kind of melancholy and slow and low, they'll get wistful with it and do some like ballet moves and things like that. And it's so funny. I let them do it because, one, my kids are pretty kinetic learners, but 2, they are feeling the music. And so then when the music is done, and I just sit there and I enjoy it and I listen to it myself. And then when they are done, they will come back and sit down at the table, and I'll ask them how they felt about it. What did they notice about it? What kind of sounds do they remember hearing? I just ask like random questions to kind of get some information from them. And I'll ask them finally, before I talk about who the composer is, I always ask them, I'm like, did you enjoy it? Yes, no, why? And they'll tell me, and I'll say, how did it make you feel? Because that's what music is to me. It makes me feel. And so they've actually come up with some really good, even for a 6 and an 8-year-old, they've come up with some pretty good explanations about their feelings around music. And then what I will say is I will pull up my book and I'll say, this piece was composed by Wolfgang Mozart. And I'll say who he was, an Austrian composer, when he lived, because my daughters are really interested in when people lived, because I think it helps them connect it to history and time periods. And then I will then read from the back of this what the name of the piece was, Serenade Number 13 for strings in G major, just so they have that information. And so then we'll go on with our day. That's it. For the second week, I will play the piece again for them. And sometimes they'll give me, I won't ask anything of them. I'll just play it. I'll be like, hey, we're going to listen to that piece again from last week. And then they will sometimes give me more from I won't even ask anything. They'll be like, Mommy, I just noticed this that I didn't notice last week about the piece or whatever. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't realize there were strings in it, or it was piano, etc. And then, and that's it. And then we'll move on with our day. It literally takes 5 minutes. Now, what I will do again with this is if there is any living picture books for the composer, I will bring those in. We've been reading a lot about Mozart. If they have any questions about him, I'll read from the biography and give that information to them. And then also something I like to do in the mornings, or I've recently taken to this year, is putting on classical music in the morning on our TV from YouTube. Or if you followed me a few months ago on Instagram, I'm off again because I just need to take breaks from Instagram. It's too intense to keep up with, I guess, and my schedule. So I was sharing that I was putting TV scapes, like these beautiful AI created, TV scapes of autumn or fall or winter, and it had beautiful classical music accompanying it. So I will play Mozart throughout term 2 a lot, right? It doesn't have to be the specific pieces we're learning. I'll just find a Mozart compilation and I'll let it play in the background while we're doing our school in the mornings. So that's something I'll add just at any moment. And so that's how we do composer study. Last but not least, how do we do our folk songs? So let's say it's week 1 and we are in the month of January, which is when we would study Battle of Otterburn. So what I'll do is I'll tell them what the folk song is. Before I play it, I'll say, okay, so today's folk song is called Battle of Otterburn. And I'll have the lyrics here so I can follow along, but then also now that my girls can read, they can follow along too. But first, I don't have them see the lyrics first. I want them to listen to it and enjoy it. And again, because they're folk songs, so far most of them have been pretty upbeat and fun. They will dance to them and they will dance around and have a good old time with it. They have really enjoyed the folk songs so much that they have requested that we add some of them to my favorites playlist so they can listen to them in the car. It cracks me up because we wouldn't have been exposed to this music otherwise if it weren't for following Ambleside Online's folk song recommendations. But so that's all we do. We listen to it once a week at minimum for the month that we are studying it. I'll ask them if they can, again, kind of with the composer, how does it make you feel? Do you notice any of the lyrics, anything, that comes to mind with them? Some of them are stories, most of them are stories when it comes to folk songs, but I'll ask them what they think about the storyline, all that stuff. And it's just a conversation. It's just listening, and it's me getting out of the way. It's them enjoying it and then them telling me what they think about it. The only thing I really do is I provide additional resources in the form of I print out this. I might probe a little bit and get some, probing questions that are not yes or no. Or if it is, it's yes or no and why. But just to kind of get them to think and feel, that's all it is. It's really simple. So I would say in total, collectively doing composer, folk song, and artist study over an entire week maybe takes at most 20 minutes. But then we also bring it in other ways. Like I said, we'll be listening to a playlist from Mozart for that entire 12-week term at random points in the school time. We'll bring in picture books that are living books about the artist or the composer, or maybe if I can find something special in the folk songs, I'll bring them in too. But again, totally unnecessary. That's just something I like to bring in. So that's how we do our riches. If you guys do it any differently, I would love to hear from y'all in the comments how you guys do it. Any other ideas maybe that I'm not thinking of, I would love to incorporate into my homeschool. I'm always open to that kind of stuff. And also for other people who might be looking to start implementing this into their school day and they just don't know how to. I love being able to share as a community all the different things that we do, because what I might do might not work in your homeschool, but maybe the way somebody else does it might. So I'd love if we can share that down in the comments. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, y'all.